Welcome to JCE Connect. In the earlier presentations, we had seen other pavement materials like aggregates and it tests on the aggregates. In today's presentation, I'll be discussing on bituminous materials. We have heard of this blacktop roads or flexible roads, but what are these blacktop or flexible roads? The main binding material used in this is a bitumen or a tar or cutback. We hear these words. So in this presentation, we'll be seeing what are these materials, what are the types of different types of materials, their advantages, limitations, and their use in different conditions. Right. So bituminous material or asphalt are extremely used for roadway construction, primarily because of their excellent binding characteristics and waterproofing properties and relatively low costs. Yes, this low cost primary, this may not be applicable at the present day because of the rise in crude prices, but yes, definitely when compared to the other other binding material like cement, definitely it is relatively low cost. This we heard and we have used many a times because most of the roads are constructed with this bitumen. So here and there we had seen from our childhood days the construction of these bituminous roads. Mostly these bitumen, the binding material is used for the wearing course construction. Yes, yeah. Apart from that, have you seen at other layers this bitumen is being used? Yes, definitely. That is used in the other lower layers also, but not to the quantity that which we are using for the wearing course. The percentage is relatively higher, and it is mixed with the aggregates at a larger percentage, and that is used for the wearing course construction. Uh, this The properties of this bituminous material, that is mainly its adhesion property, cement cementaciousness, ductility, and the strength and imperviousness. That is very important, because when we come across water, definitely it should not it should give good bonding between the aggregates, and it is useful for construction, right, of pavements. And these bituminous materials are thermoplastic hydrocarbons which possess high molecular weight, and they become soft on heating and harden on cooling. Yes, have you observed that? So during the construction of this bituminous roads, you have observed the temperature of this bituminous mix, the aggregate, that is also high. In the earlier days, they used to heat the bitumen on the roadside, and they used to use that hot bitumen, the aggregates. But presently in the asphalt mixing plants, you can see that is the proper monitoring is done, and that is brought to site at required temperature, that is mixed and it is laid. And compaction, during compaction also we need to maintain certain temperature to have a good quality of flexible pavement. Yes, and because of this melting and hardening, that is most of the time it is useful for both the climatic conditions, right? And they are obtained from natural sources or by prepared, or it may be prepared artificially based on the origin, the type of mineral composition, and the method of processing in refineries. Bituminous materials are classified, right? So that will be seen further. Before that, this bituminous materials consists of bitumen, which is a black or a dark colored solid or semi-solid viscous cementitious substance. And as I mentioned earlier, it is having high molecular weight and hydrocarbons derived from distillation of petroleum or natural asphalt, and the tar are a residue from the destructive distillation of organic substances such as coal, wood, or petroleum, and are temperature sensitive than that of the bitumen. And this bitumen will dissolve in petroleum oils. Yes, now coming to the production of bitumen, as I have discussed, that is, bitumen is a hard hydrocarbon material for their natural or pyrogenous origin found in gaseous, liquid, semi-solid, or solid form, and is completely soluble in carbon disulfide and in carbon tetrachloride. Bitumen is a complex organic material and occur either naturally or maybe obtained artificially during the distillation of petroleum. This bitumen is the residue or byproduct when the crude petroleum is refined. A wide variety of refinery process such as the straight distillation process or solvent extraction process, with that we can get this bitumen, may be used for to produce bitumen for a different consistency and their other desirable properties. As I was going through one of the NPTEL lectures, there they had mentioned this. Some of the refineries are not able to provide us the required grade of bitumens or polymer modified bitumens, and a lot of testing is required. So definitely it's not only the raw bitumen or tar or cutback. It's there is a lot of research by various refineries like Shell and many companies. They do a lot of tests in their R&D centers, and at the end they give the bituminous particular type of bituminous material can sustain up to this much of load and temperature and its durability. All the test parameters will be um, done on the trial stretches, and it is recommended. So this bituminous uh, material, especially this bitumen, it is the different grade of these bitumens used for pavement construction, work of roads and airfield and airport also. Most of the time, when it's not that all the time we are going for the CC roads, airfield pavements also we are going this use of this bituminous material. Paving grades will differ, and those used for waterproofing in some portions, in some structures, industrial floorings, and that is called industrial grade of bitumen. This paving grade of bitumen, which is obtained from the distillation process of petroleum crude, is extremely used in the construction of flexible pavement layers, particularly the surface and the binder courses. At a normal range of atmospheric temperature, bitumen is semi-solid state and remains highly viscous and sticky. And when the paving grade bitumen is heated, it softens at a rapid rate and attains fluid consistency, and the viscosity decreases with further increase in temperature. And it's not that you keep on increasing the temperature and it will become like water. It has its own viscosity, and after certain temperature it will burn also, right? So for the construction of bituminous pavements, the paving grade bitumen is heated to a temperature in the range of 130 to 175 degrees Celsius, or even slightly higher, depending on the type and grade of bitumen and the type of construction work. The mixing temperature with the aggregate, that is also slightly varies, but it is more than 100 once nearly 160 degrees Celsius. And that is maintained, monitored in hot bituminous mixing plants, right? And depending on the, as you mentioned, that depending on the sources and the characteristics of crude oil, uh, uh, the properties of bitumen varies. As we see that in world market, we are getting crude from Russia, we are getting crude from US, we are getting crude from Arabian countries, Saudi, and even in Bombay High, Reliance refineries. Yes. So depending on the source, slightly the properties will change. Now coming to different forms of bitumen, say cutback bitumen. In order to achieve the fluid consistency of bitumen at a relatively low temperature with normal heating, this cutback bitumen has been developed. And in this normal practice is to heat the bitumen and reduce the viscosity, as we had seen in the earlier slide. But this the cutback bitumen suitable, here we are adding some suitable solvents to lower its viscosity at lower temperature. The cutback bitumen is prepared by diluting paving grade bitumen with volatile solvent such as light fuel or kerosene. The consistency of cutback and the rate at which the hardening after application depends on the grade of bitumen and the characteristics and properties of this light oil or diluent which we'll be using, what type of diluents we'll be using. Depending on that, it varies. And from the environmental point of view also, this cutback bitumen is preferred, as we are not heating at a very large temperature and it is not evaporating any kind of uh, oxides into the environment, harmful oxides into the environment. The solvents, uh, the solvent from the bituminous material will evaporate and the bitumen will bind with the aggregates. It's a simple concept. And this cutback bitumen is used in the cold weather bituminous road construction in cold countries, and its maintenance. The There are three types of cutback bitumens, that is rapid curing, medium curing, and slow curing. RC, MC, and SC. As the name indicates, rapid curing. That is, most of the time we will be using it for surface dressing and patchworks, so that it should get cured faster. Now coming to the next bituminous material, that is bitumen emulsion. This bitumen emulsion is a liquid product in which bitumen is suspended in a finely divided condition in an aqueous medium and stabilized by suitable material or some solvents. Normally, cationic type of emulsions are used in India. The bitumen content in the emulsion is around 60%, and remaining 40% is nothing but that water and the solvents. And when the emulsion is applied on the road, it breaks down, resulting in release of water, and the mix starts to set. The The time of setting depends on the grade of the bitumen, and the viscosity of bitumen emulsion can be measured as per this IS specifications. And there are three types of bitumen emulsions: rapid setting, medium setting, and slow setting. Apart from this, if you want to discuss more on this bitumen emulsion, is emulsified bitumens are more preferred because of its properties, and the type and grade of bitumen emulsions may be selected for being directly spread as prime coat or a tack coat, and for being mixed with the aggregates to prepare cold bitumen mixes. Yes, but depending on the applications where you want to use, what's the purpose for which you are using these emulsions, these grades of bitumens are selected. Most of the time the percentage of water is same, and the viscosity of ordinary paving grade of bitumen varies considerably with the temperature, resulting in bituminous pavement surface cores being susceptible to temperature changes. Means during hot weather the bituminous pavement surface cores become soft, and during cold weather it becomes too stiff and brittle, with the possibility of early cracking. These bitumen modifiers reduce the temperature susceptibility of the bituminous binder and that of the bituminous mix. Bituminous mix prepared by using suitable type of modified binders that we'll be discussing in detail in the next slide, that is type of modified binders uh, that offer better resistance to deformation at high temperature and remain relatively more flexible and elastic at low temperatures. So these types of bituminous binders used in flexible pavements construction is paving grade bitumen and modified bituminous binder, cutback bitumen, and the emulsion what we have discussed till now. That is, of course, the binders, these whatever we have discussed, emulsion, cutback, or modified bituminous binders. These paving grade bitumen and modified bituminous binders need heating before being used in paving application, but this cutback bitumen may or may not need slight heating depending on the selection grade of binder and the site temperature during mixing. When bitumen emulsion is used in pavement construction, no heating is required. It's directly can use it. Bituminous emulsions are also available with modifiers. With various modifiers, these bitumen emulsions are available. Now coming to the one more important bituminous material, that is modified bitumen. Yes, there is a need of an R. That is, presently we see compared to the earlier days vehicles, the acceleration rate has increased. That will affect the pavement. If you are accelerating, the vehicle is moving quickly. If you want to move, where it will transfer the force, that transfer to the first topmost layer, that is nothing but bituminous layer. And the next is instant braking. We are coming across in two-wheelers disc brake, in case of four-wheelers ABS, CBD. Instant you want to stop the vehicle, so that momentum is, when you want to stop a vehicle, where the entire force is transferred, that is transferred to the pavement surface, and that pavement has to resist, which should not fail during its design life. Apart from that, we see the axle load. Various in all countries, other countries also, they are increasing the axle load capacity of the vehicles. So if you are carrying a larger load, that is transferred to a smaller portion through your wheel, because the tire manufacturing industries, they are also making good quality of tires, and they can take more load. Then why we civil engineers should not construct a strong pavement surface which will not fail during its service life? So such kind of, that is need of an art, you can see. That's why this modified bitumens came into picture. So as the word mentions, modified, so we are using certain additives, or additives or modifiers. In simple terms, you can say that is modifiers. They are available in three forms. That may be physical modifiers, or it may be chemical modifiers, or other type of modifiers. In general, it is categorized other type of modifiers. So this physical modifiers, can say examples of SBS, SBR, SIS. What are this? That is nothing but thermoplastic elastomers, or thermoplastic polymers, or thermosetting polymers. So these are the physical modifiers. This, I was mentioning this SBS. If you go to the construction industry, so there styrene betadine styrene, or styrene betadine rubber, SBR. So like this thermoplastic elastomers, uh, modified bitumens will come across this kind of bitumen. Or it may be chemical type, chemical modifiers. In case of chemical modifiers, you can go for, say, certain kind of uh, sulfur, or lignin, or some adhesion improvers, like amides, or organic amines, antioxidants, natural asphalts, like rock asphalt, or Trinidad lake asphalt, TLA. Or it may be certain kind of fillers, or extenders, like sulfur. Or if you are going for some fillers, like it may be lime, or hydrated lime, or carbon coal, or fly ash. These kind of chemical modifiers also can be used in case of this modified bitumen. So most commonly we heard of these words, that is polymer modified bitumen, or CRMB, that is crumb rubber modified bitumen, CRMB. So in IS codes, uh, uh, also it is mentioned the use of CRMB, and polymer modified bitumens, used depending on the wearing course, and depending on the requirements of the extreme climatic conditions. We prefer these different types of modifiers. Each modifier has its own additive as modifier agents. As I mentioned, maybe physical or chemical, or maybe other type of modifiers. In that also, like various types which I mentioned. So like this, it varies. It's not that if you are saying like physical modifier, it's not only one type. In that again, uh, the types are there, and depending on the climatic conditions, suitability, we prefer in codes it is mentioned. And there are many modifier materials that can be used to mix with bitumen to improve their performance as paving materials. Rubbers are preferred as bitumen modifiers due to their uh, lower prices and availability. The selection of modifiers depends on the user or the company, or the when the client is giving the certain conditions with respect to that, uh, should fulfill these criteria. To fulfill those criteria, you will select, depending on the climatic condition and other factors, you will select the modified bitumen which need to be used for that particular road. Now the tests on bitumen. Yes, as bitumen is available in various variety of types and grades. To judge the suitability of these binders, various types of tests has been specified by the agencies like Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS, and ASTM, American Society for Testing and Materials, Asphalt Institute, and the British Standard Institutes. So the common test to assess the properties and requirements of paving grade bitumen are the viscosity test, penetration test, ductility test, softening point test, right? And specific gravity, flashing fire point, float test, water content test, loss on heating test, solubility test. So these are the various types of tests which are recommended. Earlier, the classification was um, was based on the penetration and ductility test results. That's why that was named as PG, penetration grade PG, and the particular numbers. But now VG is the trend, the gradation which is used, that is viscosity grades. It was earlier observed that the bitumen from various sources possess same penetration value at the specified temperature, may exhibit entirely different viscosity characteristics. That's why this VG grade had come into picture with respect to its application and service temperatures. So it is uh, recommended to go for the viscosity property of the binder in terms of absolute viscosity and the kinematic viscosity test results, right? And apart from these tests will see in detail in the next presentation in brief. Penetration test, what is the temperature required, what is the needle size, how much the quantity of bitumen you need to take, what should be the temperature. And in general also, if you want to see these tests, as the bitumen is uh, available from at a lower temperature to higher temperature, we are using it for mixing. We are heating to a temperature of say 150 to 170 degrees Celsius, and the penetration we are doing at room temperature, right? So like this various tests are there. So if you want to put all these in sequence, so that is direct tensile and frost break point test, that is done generally at lower temperature, that is Indian condition with respect to minus 4 to minus 10 degrees Celsius. So that is the temperature. And working range of bituminous pavements or bitumen in Indian condition, that is from minus 10 degrees to 60 degrees Celsius. And needle penetration test, that is also done at 4 degrees Celsius, and in laboratories we are doing at 25 degrees Celsius. Ductility and specific gravity tests we are doing at room temperature, so it is 27 degrees Celsius. And the softening point test, that is where the bitumen is heated, or the range lies is from 30 to 65 degree Celsius. And viscosity as per IS 1206, and the Marshall stability float test that is done at 60 degree and above, and minimum rolling temperature that is connected at 100 degree. Compaction temperature is 135 degree, and the viscosity as per IS 1206 part 3 is at 135 degrees Celsius. And mixing temperature of bitumen and the aggregates, as I mentioned earlier, compaction temperature is lesser, that is 135, whereas the mixing temperature is 150 to 170 or 177 degrees Celsius, or say in the, if you take mean, that is say 160 165 degrees Celsius. And a flash and fire point, so that is, sorry, that is flash point test, that is at 175 degrees Celsius. Like this, the I have just given the temperature ranges from say -4 -10 degree to say 175 degrees Celsius. Like this, the tests varies for various temperatures. We are conducting different types of tests on bitumen, how it behaves. So apart from this, there are few mm, more say requirements or suitability of bituminous materials for the pavement construction. Is the bitumen binder should satisfy the criteria of strength and durability for the prescribed loading and temperature variations. Means whatever bitumen which we are going to use for the construction, it should uh, sustain the load, maximum load, axle load, and the temperature variations. At night time the temperature may be low, and daytime the temperature may be high. Generally we take the maximum temperature with respect to Indian condition, that is during the uh, summer we observe maximum temperature. And so which one to take? So there is a question. So generally it is recommended to take 7 days maximum temperature is taken for the design. And next is workability of the bitumen should be studied carefully at temperature similar to climatic conditions of the in-service pavement. And the viscosity of bitumen is largely dependent on its working temperature during mixing, laying, and compaction. Hence, the equipment used for mixing of bitumen with aggregate, the method of storage, transportation, laying, and compaction of bituminous layer should be decided in advance. Means what kind of machineries, what kind of mixing, whether it is on site or from the plant, we are going to take the bituminous mix, how we are going to maintain the temperature throughout the process, that should be pre-decided. And the next is susceptibility and durability of bitumen under prevailing environmental conditions should be evaluated throughout its period of serviceable life. Means of pavement, if you are designing for say 10 years, so during those 10 years, what is the uh, environmental conditions which the pavement is undergoing, so that need to be uh, evaluated and considered. Next is partial coating and stripping of bitumen film from the surface of aggregates due to poor adhesion should also be studied under prevailing climatic and drainage conditions. So the worst condition is when it comes in contact with the water, and it the bonding between the aggregate and bitumen, the adhesion reduces. So that thin filming of bitumen on the aggregate, that is stripping of bitumen film from the surface of aggregate, that also need to be tested. So when we go for masters in transportation or highway engineering with respect to materials, when we study that time in the laboratories, these all tests need to be conducted with the So here for your syllabus, you'll be seeing only the basic tests: penetration, ductility, softening points, specific gravity, viscosity, flash and fire point, float, then water content, loss on heating test, suitability test. So these are the tests which we'll be seeing in detail in the next presentation. Thank you very much.